Welcome, truth seekers and heart explorers, to a story that challenges everything we think we know about wealth, loss, and the surprising places where true happiness resides. Imagine a fortress of success, gleaming glass and cold marble, where every material desire is met, yet its very walls echo with a silence far heavier than any sound. This isn't just a tale of a billionaire, Christopher Cole, but a profound journey into the human heart, stripped bare by tragedy and slowly, painstakingly, rebuilt by the most unexpected architect. What truly makes a home? Is it the size of your fortune or the warmth of the souls within its walls? Today, we unravel a narrative that proves, unequivocally, it's the latter. This is a story about the unseen battles, the quiet heroes, and the transformative power of a connection forged not in gold but in empathy and unwavering love. In the heart of Lagos, a city throbbing with life, Christopher Cole reigned over a vast empire. His name was synonymous with power, his decisions shaped industries, and his wealth was beyond measure. But for all his outward success, Christopher was a man adrift in a sea of silent grief. The Cole estate, his architectural masterpiece, should have been a sanctuary. Instead, it was a mausoleum of memories, a stark monument to a love lost too soon. His beloved wife, the vibrant soul who had filled these halls with laughter and light, was gone. And in her wake, she left behind not just a gaping void in Christopher's heart, but two tiny, vulnerable souls, his twin boys, Ethan and Elias, barely 3 months old. Imagine Christopher's world. Impeccable suits, meticulously planned schedules, a life of absolute control. But how do you control the uncontrollable force of grief? How do you schedule a mother's touch? He found himself a stranger in his own nursery, surrounded by the overwhelming reality of parenthood, intensified by an unbearable sorrow. The twins' incessant cries were not just noise. They were a constant piercing reminder of what he had lost and what he felt utterly incapable of providing. This man, who could command boardrooms, was paralyzed by 2 infants. It's a poignant illustration of how wealth, power, and intellect often stand helpless against the raw, primal demands of human emotion and connection. Miles away, in a world that rarely intersected with Christopher's, lived Belinda Okoro. Her reality was a daily hustle, a delicate dance between aspiration and necessity. For Belinda, life was about providing for her bright-eyed daughter, Amaka, a vibrant little girl who was her entire universe. The aroma of fried plantain and palm oil, the gentle hum of her mother's radio, these were the simple comforts of her home. But behind the warmth, a quiet desperation simmered. School fees, clothes, the dream of a better life for Amaka. These were the driving forces that pushed Belinda to seek opportunities no matter how daunting. The phone call from Cole Estates was a lifeline. 200,000 naira a month, the voice had said, a sum that felt astronomical, a promise of stability she desperately craved. But it came with a heavy cost, a live-in position. It meant leaving Amaka in her mother's care, trading daily hugs for nightly whispers over the phone. This isn't just a job. It's a profound sacrifice, a testament to a mother's unconditional love. Belinda's mother, a woman etched with the wisdom of life's hardships, recognized the weight of her daughter's decision. "It's not easy to leave your child, Belinda," she had said, "but I know you're doing this for her future." This interaction highlights a universal truth: the quiet strength and immense sacrifices made by countless parents, often unseen, often unsung, as they navigate the complexities of providing for their loved ones. The journey to the Cole estate was a passage from one world to another. Belinda, in her crisp black maid's uniform, left behind the vibrant chaos of Lagos for the hushed, almost sterile grandeur of the billionaire's mansion. High gates, gleaming glass, silent halls, it all spoke of an untouchable, almost intimidating opulence. The air itself felt different, heavy with unspoken sorrow, isolated from the bustling world outside. Her first encounter with Christopher Cole was less an interview and more an austere decree. He stood by the window, a man carved from granite, his back to her, his voice low and even, devoid of warmth. "You're Belinda," he stated, not asked. The fleeting glimpse of grief in his eyes was like a shadow, quick and gone, almost as if he was afraid to let it linger. His instructions were precise, clinical: feed times, sleep challenges, a strict order not to disturb him. "Their mother is gone. They will cry a lot. You will handle it." The raw, clipped tone of his words, though devoid of emotion, conveyed a profound agony. Belinda felt the immense weight of the task: 2 motherless infants, and a father locked in his own impenetrable fortress of grief. She was not just a nanny, she was stepping into a void, a testament to the unacknowledged emotional labor often performed by caregivers in wealthy households. They don't just care for children, they become quiet conduits of healing, bearing the emotional burdens of the entire family. The mansion, once just quiet, now echoed with constant cries. The rain outside seemed to mirror the internal storm brewing within Christopher, who remained motionless, his gaze fixed on nothing. He had grown accustomed to the cries, much like a man grows accustomed to an unhealing wound, a constant ache, ignored until it blends into the background silence. But Belinda refused to let it become silent. She entered, cradling one twin, humming softly, her presence a stark contrast to the mansion's cold stillness. Her face, flushed from soothing a crying infant, held a quiet confidence. Christopher's eyes flickered, observing, but revealing nothing. "He wouldn't stop," Belinda murmured, her voice a gentle interruption to the heavy atmosphere. Neither of them would. Her words, "It helps when they feel safe," were simple yet profound. They were an invitation, a gentle nudge toward the emotional connection Christopher so desperately needed, even if it meant making him feel again. Her quiet strength in the face of his emotional wall was remarkable. This is where the magic of human connection begins, not with grand gestures, but with consistent, empathetic presence. It reminds us of the power of gentle persistence, the way a steady stream can eventually wear down even the hardest stone. Belinda was not just a caretaker. She was a quiet, almost subversive force, injecting warmth into a home that had forgotten how to breathe. The nights blurred into a relentless cycle for Belinda. Wash bottle, feed baby, burp baby, soothe baby, switch babies, repeat. Her uniform, once crisp, became a testament to her tireless efforts. The twins wailed like tiny sirens, their energy seemingly endless. Christopher, impeccable in his navy suit, would occasionally pause at the nursery door, his voice flat. "Is everything all right?" He saw the exhaustion, the red faces, but seemed unable to fully grasp the emotional and physical toll. He would simply state, "They'll settle, they sometimes cry," and disappear back into his study, his sanctuary of solitude. This emotional distance isn't necessarily a sign of a lack of love, but rather a profound incapacity, a protective mechanism against overwhelming pain. Many grieving parents experience this emotional shutdown, finding it impossible to connect with a new life when they are so consumed by a recent loss. Christopher was trapped in his grief, blinded to the simple, profound needs of his sons and the extraordinary efforts of the woman caring for them. Belinda, in her quiet moments of exhaustion, even found herself rocking an empty bottle. "Chai, you boys are plotting against me," she'd whisper, a faint smile playing on her lips despite her aching arms. This quiet humor, this ability to find a moment of light amidst the darkest hours, is a powerful coping mechanism, a testament to her resilience. It's also a powerful insight into the strength required for caregivers who often bear the emotional weight for others. Then came a pivotal dawn. The once noisy nursery, a battlefield of cries, now hummed with a new, gentle rhythm, soft coos, bubbling giggles. Belinda, her ponytail gleaming, sat cross-legged on the playmat, her fingers wiggling over tiny bellies, her lips making silly popping sounds. The twins, once inconsolable, now squealed with delight, their wide brown eyes following her every movement. Some days ago, crying like the whole of Lagos was falling down. Now see you, laughing like you own the place, she'd tease, her voice warm and melodic, filling the room with a lullaby she had learned from her own mother. This transformation wasn't a miracle cure. It was the result of consistent, loving, and deeply empathetic care. Belinda didn't just meet their physical needs. She met their emotional needs for safety, connection, and joy. She spoke their unspoken language. In a world where we often overcomplicate parenting, Belinda's approach was beautifully simple: presence, affection, and soothing sounds. Meanwhile, in his sleek, minimalist home office, Christopher watched, not the financial news, not his corporate empires, but the nursery feed. His posture was as straight as ever, but his eyes, fixated on the screen, held a subtle, unreadable intensity. He saw Belinda cradle the boys with her voice, tracing gentle circles on their soft hair. He saw her patience, her unwavering warmth. "You are safe," she whispered between verses of the lullaby. "No need to cry, not when I'm here." And in his office, Christopher's jaw twitched, a faint ripple in the ice that had encased his heart. He had hired a nanny for her experience. He had not expected this profound transformation, this infusion of life. The babies, lulled by Belinda's song, finally slept. The nursery was serene, almost sacred. Belinda, ever diligent, tidied the room, meticulously cleaning bottles until they gleamed. Christopher, still watching, adjusted the camera angle as if trying to see her better, to understand the source of this quiet magic. And then, the moment. One twin stirred, whimpered. Belinda was there instantly. "Ah, my princes, no crying today," she said in a mock-stern voice, making a loud, exaggerated pop sound with her lips. The baby's eyes widened, then a bubbling laugh escaped him. Belinda's face lit up, and she gently bounced him, adding another pop. Soon the second twin was awake, curious, and Belinda gathered both boys onto her hips, wiggling her head, making silly faces. Both boys laughed together, full, joyous giggles that filled the nursery. And then, somewhere deep in the mansion, in a quiet, polished office, Christopher Cole, the man known as cold and unshakable, laughed. It was small at first, just a breath. Then it grew, a genuine, warm, chest-deep laugh that surprised even him. His reflection in the dark corner of the screen seemed almost unrecognizable. His lips curved, his eyes brighter. This single laugh, after months of silence, was more significant than any business deal or financial triumph. It was the sound of a heart beginning to thaw, a soul starting to heal. It wasn't just the children laughing. It was the entire mansion, the entire spirit of the family, finally finding its voice. This moment teaches us that joy is contagious, and often, the most profound healing comes from allowing ourselves to be vulnerable to the simple, unadulterated happiness of others, especially children. It's a reminder that true wealth lies not in what we accumulate, but in the connections we foster and the joy we share. Despite the laughter, the path to healing was far from linear for Christopher. Images of his son's joyous giggles with Belinda haunted him, blurring the quarterly reports on his desk. He shifted in his leather chair, a man accustomed to solutions, yet utterly without one for the emotional chasm separating him from his boys. He tried. He really did. He spoke to them in soft tones, held them in his arms, made gentle noises, shook soft toys. But the connection remained elusive. His hopeful smile would falter when they cried, their small faces scrunching up in distress, seeking Belinda's comfort instead. This is a powerful, relatable struggle for many parents. The desire to connect is there, the love is undeniable, but the how can be incredibly difficult, especially when compounded by personal grief or emotional inexperience. Christopher's initial coldness wasn't a lack of love, but a shield, a coping mechanism that had now become a barrier. He wanted to be present, to be there for his sons, but the emotional tools simply weren't in his arsenal yet. We often mistakenly believe that love is enough, but active presence and emotional attunement are learned skills, especially in the face of immense personal pain. It speaks to the silent battles many individuals fight, trying to bridge the gap between their intentions and their emotional capabilities. One restless night, Christopher woke before dawn, drenched in sweat, his heart pounding. His late wife, radiant and calm, had appeared in a dream. Her voice, soft but urgent, echoed in the quiet room. "Baby, why don't you want to play with our kids? Now that I'm gone, it's only you they have. You must try for them. You have the power to make them love you. You are all they've got." He jolted awake, the weight of her words sinking deep into his soul. This dream wasn't just a figment of his subconscious, it was a profound psychological catalyst. It represented his inner truth, the voice of his deepest love, finally cutting through the layers of grief and fear. It reminded him that his pain, while valid, was also preventing him from fulfilling his most crucial role. In many cultures, dreams are seen as messages, as profound insights from a deeper self or even from beyond. This dream was Christopher's turning point, forcing him to confront his emotional paralysis and step into the discomfort of active fatherhood. It's a vivid example of how our internal world, sometimes through symbolic dreams, can push us towards necessary growth and action, especially when we've become stuck. Think of stories where individuals finally break free from cycles of inaction after a powerful epiphany. This was Christopher's moment. The true test of trust, however, arrived abruptly. One late evening, the mansion's quiet calm was shattered by the sharp cries of the twins. Their small bodies burned with fever, their cries growing desperate. Christopher was away on a business trip, miles out of Lagos. Belinda's mind raced. She didn't know his preferred hospital, his trusted doctor. In that moment of panic, with two very sick infants, she acted instinctively, decisively. She wrapped them in their familiar blue blankets and rushed them to the nearest hospital she knew. The drive through Lagos streets was a blur of fear and urgency. Belinda, gripping the steering wheel, battled traffic, her knuckles white, whispering prayers. At the hospital, the sterile smell and hurried footsteps amplified the tension. The twins were rushed into the pediatric ward. Belinda, a fierce, protective presence at their side, clutching their tiny hands, feeling helpless yet resolute. Meanwhile, Christopher returned to an unusually silent mansion. The empty cribs in the nursery struck a chord of primal panic. His calls for Belinda went unanswered. His mind spiraled. Had something happened? Why hadn't she told him? A gnawing doubt, perhaps born of his own class prejudices, surfaced. She's just the maid. Could she handle this? Was she capable of protecting his sons? This is a raw, honest moment. In crisis, our deepest fears and prejudices can emerge. Christopher's immense wealth could not buy him answers or peace of mind. For a long, agonizing moment, he was simply a terrified father, stripped bare of his power and control, confronting the unbearable idea of losing his children. The silence of the mansion was terrifying. Then Belinda appeared, pale but relieved. "Sir, the twins, they're at the hospital." Christopher's body sagged with relief, immediately followed by a wave of guilt. "Why didn't you tell me? I was worried sick." Belinda, eyes lowered, explained her panic, her uncertainty, but in her explanation, Christopher heard not defiance, but a profound commitment. She hadn't waited for permission. She had acted to save his children. The drive back to the hospital was quiet, heavy with unspoken tension. But within that silence, a fundamental shift occurred. Christopher knew he had to trust Belinda. She had proven her capability, her devotion, far beyond the scope of any job description. This crisis didn't just save his children. It began to save his capacity for trust. It's a powerful testament to how adversity can reveal true character and forge unbreakable bonds, challenging our preconceived notions of who is capable and in charge. The twins were recovering, finally peaceful in their cribs. The house, for once, was truly calm. Christopher lingered in the nursery doorway, observing Belinda. He had watched her for weeks, witnessed her quiet efficiency, the soothing power of her voice, the tenderness in her eyes. Tonight, something shifted. He cleared his throat gently. "Belinda," he began, his voice softer, "do you mind if we talk?" It was an unprecedented request. In 2 months, Christopher had never ventured beyond the professional. He always kept interactions centered strictly around the children. Belinda, smoothing a wrinkle in a baby blanket, a flicker of surprise crossing her face, agreed. "Not just them," he clarified, pulling out an armchair. "About you." The simple words hung in the air, weighted with uncharted territory. "What would you like to know?" she asked, cautious. "Everything," he replied, leaning back, his dark eyes fixed on her. "Where you grew up, how you learned to care for kids the way you do. You're good at it. No, not just good, exceptional." This direct, personal query was a monumental step for Christopher. It wasn't merely curiosity. It was an acknowledgement of her humanity, her intrinsic value beyond her role. It was him finally seeing her as a whole person, not just a function within his household. For Belinda, it was a moment of unexpected recognition, a validation of her worth. It illustrates how often, in our professional lives, we neglect to truly see and appreciate the individuals behind the roles they play. Genuine interest, even from a billionaire, can be a profoundly powerful and validating gesture. It challenges the invisible social barriers that so often exist between employer and employee, especially in domestic settings. Belinda, caught off guard, shifted on her feet. "It's nothing special, sir. I grew up here in Lagos. It's just me, my mother, and my daughter." Christopher straightened slightly. "Your daughter?" The image of Belinda as a mother herself seemed to surprise him. "She's 1 year and 6 months old now." Her voice softened, taking on the same tenderness she used with the twins. "That explains it," Christopher murmured, a faint smile touching his lips. "The way you're with the boys, it's not just skill, it's affection. You know what they need before they ask." This was Christopher beginning to understand the unspoken language of nurturing, realizing that Belinda's extraordinary care stemmed from a deep well of maternal love, honed by her own experiences. Then came the more difficult question. And her father? Belinda's gaze dropped to the floor. "It's just me, my mother, and my baby. No one else." The weight in her tone was palpable. She spoke of giving her partner an ultimatum when she found out she was pregnant, to choose them or leave. He left. Her words were matter-of-fact, but beneath them lay a faint tremor, a testament to past pain and unwavering strength. She recalled her mother's wisdom. Don't beg him to stay if his heart is already gone. Belinda had chosen resilience, staying with her mother, taking whatever jobs she could to support her little girl. "It's not hard to care for children when you love them," she concluded simply. Christopher's gaze softened. He could see now how her life had shaped her, how her struggles had forged her strength and empathy. He thought of his own paralysis after his wife's passing, the hollow cries, his inability to step into the void. Belinda had not hesitated. "You've given my sons something I wasn't able to. You've given them security." Laughter, he acknowledged. This conversation was monumental. It wasn't just about Belinda's past. It was about Christopher finally allowing himself to be vulnerable, to connect on a human level, and to acknowledge the profound impact another person had made on his life and his children's. It's a reminder that true strength isn't just about enduring hardship, but about finding the courage to open up and receive help, and to recognize the heroes living amongst us, often in the most unassuming roles. Belinda's story highlights the quiet heroism of single mothers, their fierce determination, and the profound love that drives them. The conversation lingered. Christopher, now truly seeing Belinda, inquired about her daughter. "She's well," Belinda replied, her face softening with a mother's pride. "She's learning to talk now. My mother says she's stubborn like me." Christopher chuckled quietly. "I'd like to meet her one day." Belinda's eyes widened in surprise. "Meet her, sir?" "Yes, if you'd allow it." This wasn't just a polite gesture. It was a profound shift in Christopher's perspective. He was moving from an isolated existence to one that actively sought connection, not just for his children, but for himself and for Belinda. He was recognizing the interconnectedness of their lives. That night, Christopher had a flashback of his own, vivid memories of his late wife laughing, saying, "Baby, these kids need you. They're all we've got now." The memory was a stark reminder of how much of her absence he had been trying to fill with work, silence, and distance. Belinda, in her small bedroom, made a video call to her mother and daughter. Amaka, with her bright eyes and 2 tiny puffs of curly hair, squealed with delight at seeing her mother. "Mama," she giggled. Belinda's throat tightened with joy and longing. Her mother, ever pragmatic, inquired about the twins and Belinda's well-being. This was Belinda's lifeline, her emotional sanctuary. Unbeknownst to her, Christopher stood at the door, observing. "You know," he said, his voice low and even, "you can go and visit your mother sometimes, and your daughter." Belinda's head snapped up, surprise and an unguarded joy flooding her features. "Really, sir?" she asked, barely daring to believe. Christopher nodded. Yes, tomorrow I'll take the day off, and you can go see her. This was more than a day off. It was an act of profound empathy and generosity. Christopher wasn't just being a good employer. He was acting as a human being, recognizing Belinda's deep maternal bond and the sacrifice she was making. It was a tangible expression of his dawning understanding that true care extends beyond the professional into the personal. This small act was a seismic shift in the mansion's dynamic, signaling a thawing of the emotional permafrost that had long defined Christopher's life. The next morning, the mansion buzzed with a different kind of energy. The twins were bathed and dressed in matching rompers, their soft curls neatly combed. Belinda moved through her chores with an unprecedented lightness, a quiet joy radiating from her. Christopher, in the living room, didn't just pay her salary. He added an extra bundle for transportation, for foodstuff for her mother, and something nice for her daughter. "It's not too much. Just take it," he insisted, seeing her hesitation. Belinda, blinking back tears of gratitude, knew this was more than generosity. It was an acknowledgement of her worth, her struggles, her family. "I'll look after them until you get back," he reassured her, a quiet confidence in his voice. The journey to her mother's house was a sensory embrace of home for Belinda. The humid air, the street vendors, the scent of roasted corn and petrol, every detail a poignant reminder of her roots. When she finally reached Mama's compound, her heart pounded with anticipation. Her mother, Mama, stood at the door, arms outstretched, her face a beacon of warmth. "Belinda, my daughter." And then the squeal. Amaka, her little girl, toddling towards her, arms spread wide, calling, "Mama!" The moment was a rush of powdery baby scent, tiny arms around her neck, and the profound joy of reunion. "Oh, my baby, look at you. You're walking now," Belinda whispered, her voice thick with emotion. This reunion was not just a personal moment for Belinda. It was a reflection of Christopher's evolving empathy. By allowing and facilitating this visit, he was actively participating in Belinda's happiness, acknowledging her holistic well-being. It's a powerful lesson in leadership and compassion. True leadership isn't just about managing tasks, but about understanding and valuing the human element, recognizing that fulfilled employees are often those whose personal lives are also supported. It was a small act with immense emotional ripple effects, starting to mend Belinda's own fractured sense of self and purpose. As the days turned into weeks, the mansion's atmosphere continued its subtle transformation. Christopher, now fully engaged in his sons' lives, no longer just watched them, he participated. He saw the unwavering love Belinda had for her daughter, the quiet worry that often flickered in her eyes despite her smiles. He saw how much easier things would be if Belinda's heart wasn't divided between two homes, two families. One morning, the sun filtering softly through the living room windows, Christopher finally spoke. "Belinda, why don't you bring your daughter here? It will make things easier for you, for the boys, for all of you. You could take care of her here alongside the twins." Belinda paused, her hands stilling, the idea settling in her mind like a warm breeze. Her heart pounded, a mixture of surprise and profound relief. "Do you really mean that?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Christopher nodded, his eyes sincere. "I do. I've seen how much you care. Having her here will give you peace of mind. We'll all be together." This was the pivotal moment, a truly transformative decision. Christopher wasn't just offering a room, he was offering a home, a family. He was extending his once guarded heart to embrace not just his sons, but Belinda's daughter too. This act redefined his understanding of family, moving beyond blood ties to encompass chosen bonds, shared love, and mutual support. It's a powerful example of radical inclusion, a decision that not only alleviated Belinda's burden, but enriched the lives of his own children, providing them with a sister and a more complete, vibrant family unit. Think of stories of blended families, where initial hesitations give way to profound, unexpected love. This was Christopher actively choosing to build such a family, moving from passive observation to active construction of a loving environment. Preparations began quickly, thoughtfully. The mansion, once filled with the hushed sounds of infant coos, now eagerly anticipated a new voice. Belinda's daughter, a lively little girl with soft, curly hair, was introduced to the spacious nursery. The first moments were gentle, tentative. The toddler gazed wide-eyed at the twins, who stared back with innocent curiosity. Belinda's eyes filled with tears as she watched them all together, her daughter reaching out to touch the soft blue blankets, the twins responding with small grins and coos. Christopher watched from the doorway, a rare softness in his stoic expression. "See, family," he said quietly. That evening, as the Lagos skyline shimmered, the mansion hummed with warmth and laughter. Belinda cradled her daughter while the twins napped nearby. Christopher stood close, feeling the walls of his home finally echo with the joy of a real family. The living room, a place once defined by coldness, was now alive with warmth. Toys scattered playfully across the plush rug, giggles filling the air. The twin boys, now nearing 11 months, eagerly reached for colorful toys, their bright eyes sparkling. Belinda's daughter, a confident toddler, toddled around, her delighted giggles a constant melody. Belinda, radiant and at ease, sat on the floor, engaging them all in playful chatter. The years of hardship and loneliness seemed to melt away. Christopher, once reserved and distant, now knelt beside the children, tickling and making funny faces, causing bursts of laughter that warmed his once frozen heart. He forgot the pressures of his business empire, simply living in the happiness of this growing family. This isn't just a happy ending, it's a profound testament to healing and the redefinition of success. For Christopher, true success was no longer measured in naira or influence, but in the laughter of children and the warmth of genuine connection. It's a powerful statement that material wealth alone cannot fill the void left by emotional absence. It requires the active cultivation of love, presence, and shared joy. This transformation mirrors countless stories where individuals discover that the most meaningful returns on investment are emotional, not financial. Later that evening, as the Lagos sun dipped below the horizon, Christopher stood by the window, gazing at the city's glowing skyline. The vibrant hum of life outside contrasted with the profound calm within his heart. He thought about the journey, the crushing loss, the isolating pain, and the unexpected, profound love he had found in Belinda. His eyes softened as he reflected on how much the children and Belinda had changed his world. Turning from the window, Christopher walked back to the living room where Belinda was seated. He approached her quietly, took her hands in his gaze steady and full of emotion. "Belinda," he began, his voice low but sincere, "I know I haven't been perfect. I've been distant and sometimes cold. But I believe we can build something beautiful together, a family full of love, with children of our own. I want you to be the mother of my children, and me the father of yours. Will you marry me?" Belinda's breath caught. Tears welled in her eyes as the weight of the moment settled in. She looked at Christopher, the man who had slowly shed his shell, who had become her anchor, her partner in creating this vibrant home. She looked at the peaceful children sleeping nearby, their lives intertwined forever. Her voice, soft but firm, replied, "Yes." Relief and joy lit Christopher's face as he smiled broadly, pulling her gently into an embrace. The children stirred softly in their sleep, as if sensing the new beginning unfolding around them. The house, once cold and silent, now brimmed with hope, love, and the promise of a shared future. This proposal wasn't just a romantic gesture, it was the ultimate act of integration and healing. Christopher wasn't just finding a wife. He was actively choosing to build a complete, blended family, recognizing Belinda's invaluable role not just as a caretaker, but as an equal partner, a mother, and the emotional heart of his home. It speaks to the idea that love often finds us in unexpected places, challenging our preconceived notions of who is right for us, and demonstrating that true connection transcends social status, background, and initial impressions. Years later, the mansion was a symphony of joyous chaos. The sun poured softly through the large windows, casting golden hues over a living room alive with laughter. Belinda, now radiant and at ease, watched as her eldest daughter, a lively 7-year-old, helped her younger siblings stack colorful blocks on the soft carpet. The twin boys, nearing 6, darted around with endless energy, their bright eyes sparkling with mischief and affection. Not far behind, their youngest sister and brother, now 5 years old, followed carefully, their small hands gripping one another for support as they learned to keep up. Christopher stood nearby, a proud smile playing on his lips, his once reserved demeanor completely softened. The man who once guarded his heart behind walls of grief and silence had blossomed into a loving father and devoted husband. The years had softened him, but also made him stronger in ways he hadn't imagined. "Come on, twins, slow down," Belinda called gently, laughing as she scooped one of the boys into her arms. "We have to get ready for school." And Christopher moved to help the youngest two with their shoes, his hand steady and sure. "You see," he said, catching Belinda's eye with a quiet tenderness, "this is what I dreamed of, a family full of love, noise, and life." Belinda smiled back, warmth filling her chest. "I never thought we'd come this far, Christopher. From that cold, quiet house to this, a home." He took her hand softly. "And it's only the beginning." As the children gathered around for breakfast, the house hummed with the comfortable chaos of a family united, a family healed. Belinda's daughter glanced up at Christopher, her eyes wide and trusting. "Daddy," she said softly, "will you play with us after school?" Christopher chuckled. "Of course, my princess, always." This final scene is the culmination of a profound journey. It shows not just a happy ending, but a thriving beginning. Christopher and Belinda didn't just find love. They built a legacy of love, resilience, and redefined family. Their story is a powerful narrative of how unexpected connections can heal the deepest wounds, transforming a house into a true home and solitude into a symphony of shared joy. So, what is the profound lesson woven into the fabric of Christopher and Belinda's journey? It's this: true wealth is not measured in material possessions, but in the richness of our relationships. Healing is not a destination, but a courageous, often messy journey of opening our hearts, even after the deepest loss. And love, in its purest form, can emerge from the most unexpected places, challenging our assumptions and redefining what family truly means. Christopher found his greatest treasure not in his empire, but in the laughter of his children, the unwavering strength of Belinda, and the profound joy of a home built on empathy, presence, and unconditional love. May their story inspire us all to look beyond the surface, to value human connection above all else, and to remember that every home, no matter how grand or humble, is truly made alive by the love within its walls. Thank you for watching, and may your own stories be filled with such inspiring connections.